Hey guys, this is Joe Gomez. You're listening to Live in Color with Wolfie D.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
Hey guys, welcome once again to Live and in Color with Wolfie D. Hope everybody's having a great day. And my man Jimmy across the street is here with me, and we got a very special guest today. Some of you, when I say the name Joe Gomez, you may not be very familiar with him. He did a lot of work in Florida. Old school guy, and did a lot of WCW work, man. So he's got a great story, man. He really does. And I'm going to be anxious to share it with you guys. What do you think, Jimmy?
Oh, I'm very excited. Here's the thing. So back in the day when I was, around the time of just out of high school, we would watch Nitro. We would watch Raw. We would watch all those shows. And my buddies and I, we would always pick our favorite guy that was not a superstar. So like one guy, he picked Roadblock, or another guy would pick the Yeti or whatever. But my pick was always Joe Gomez. And we would, just kind of yell for him and cheer for him and stuff like that. And yeah, man, I've always been a fan of Joe Gomez. It's funny. That dude to me was always one of those guys that looked like a star. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Had that. Man, Joe's if you've never been next to him in person, Joe's a big dude, man.
Yeah. Long black hair, that vest. I mean, he was so cool. I was like, this guy's going to break free sometime, I promise. And we just kind of, I don't know, we probably called them jobbers or whatever, but still, it was just like we had our guys, Carpenters is the true term. So yeah. So we just came off a cool show with Kiwi, man, and I think everybody we're getting good feedback on that. I think everybody's surprised by how funny that dude is, man.
Yeah, man. I was having a blast.
I know. I mean, yeah, it was all a blast. It was funny because, to me, I didn't know him. And honestly, his character, nothing about his character, but what I mean is his character doesn't really show who he is. Which is the beauty of wrestling. If you look at it, you don't have to necessarily be your gimmick. But what was cool is he's just hilarious, man. And just
a good booker would have capitalized on that and saw that and found that.
Yeah, and they didn't for some reason with him, which is unfortunate. But what a cool dude. Good gimmick. I liked it. Obviously a continuation of my cousin across the pond, Screet, Adrian. You like that?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, I thought of that when you came up with mine. So, but yeah. Yeah. So, and of course, the Jamie numbers keep growing. And another thing is, so I don't put all of our current shows on YouTube, although this Jamie show, it just made me feel like we should. So I went ahead and dropped it on YouTube, and, it's not quite the level that it's doing through the normal podcast shows, but it'll get there. I feel like that's one that's going to just continue to grow and grow, So, yeah. But have you heard any feedback from that show at all? Anybody, what their thoughts were on it?
On which one are we talking about?
On the Jamie show.
Oh man, everybody's loved it, man. I mean, I know for a fact. A lot of the boys have listened to it just because they would not listen to anything. So
sure, yeah, they're just waiting to hear the car wreck, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? I think he came across very eloquent. I think y'all buried the hatchet in a sense.
Yeah.
It was, dude, I feel like that right there is a sign of a great year for y'all. 2023 is coming up. I think y'all have already started getting some convention bookings and everything, dude. So I'm thinking,
and one in Pigeon Forge. We got some stuff working up north. On a few different things. So, hopefully that'll pick up too.
Absolutely.
And it's like, one of the guys said, man, because I said, Jamie's on board this year, man. And he's like, well, being on board and being trustworthy is two different things.
Right.
I said, you have every right to feel that way. And I said, I'm not 100% positive on all of it, but
sure.
He's given me his word, and he's the one that reached out to me about it, so.
There you go. That's a start, man. That's a start. So, you know, we can pray for that and hope that everything comes through. And it is 30 years of PG-13. So, can't believe.
That's kind of what me and Jamie, because 1993 was when we debuted in Memphis. We'd only been together probably, you know, a year, maybe a year and a half or something before that. But
right. Yeah, I mean, when you hit Memphis, that's kind of when you hit the time, right? So obviously on Thursday this week, if you're listening on Monday, which, you know, is our show drop date, this Thursday is Thanksgiving, Wolfie D. So what I was going to do to start the show before we bring Joe on, and then I'll shut up. Just name a couple things you're thankful for, you know.
Well, I'm thankful for my health, first of all. That's been an issue. You know, I'm still here.
Absolutely.
I'm thankful for my girlfriend, who's helped me out tremendously in my life.
Absolutely.
I'm thankful for my kids, obviously, and this is in no particular order. I'm thankful just to have what I have, and I'm not ungrateful for the things that I don't have, you know.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good way to be. Yeah.
Another day above dirt, as they say.
Absolutely. That, you know, the attitude of gratitude, right? Is that
gotta have it. It's hard to have it sometimes, believe me.
Dude, it is, man. It is, because the world will beat you down. I really, like last night, I was just like I wasn't necessarily feeling depressed, but I was just not in a good place mentally. Man, this is like, dude, everything is just brutal. It feels like the things that I work hard for, you know, it feels like I'm walking in sand sometimes, or quicksand, you know what I mean?
I'm sure everybody out there listening can relate to that, you know?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
You just gotta keep on keeping on. Sometimes it's hard, but
it is, man.
On keeping on.
Yeah, well, and that's the keeping on, you know. So,
what are you thankful for, then?
Man, I am thankful for my son Cash, my wife Michelle, my brother Jared and his family, my mom and dad. You know, my family. I'm thankful for Wolfie D. I'm thankful for this podcast. I'm you know, man, I mean, honestly, I don't know that, you know, wrestling to me, it's given, not only you've said that it's given you like a resurgence for giving a crap about wrestling, and it's also, you know, done that for me too, because now I'm like, well, man, you know, when you got a project, you feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody calls you up and says, Wolfie D, I want you to draw Coco Beware. I want you to draw somebody. You've got a project and you're like, man, I feel good. I'm gonna drink some coffee, get things going. I'm going to draw this up. It's going to be beautiful. And, you know, dude, when you've got a project, I always can tell, because you're like, hey, man, what do you think of this? Here, what do you think of this? And it's like his foot. And I'm like, well, where's the rest? And like, I just wanted to show you the process.
I just keep going and hyper focused. You know, that's part
it's
of
nothing. Yeah, dude. That's awesome.
I think.
No, it's good, man, because that's, you know.
I care.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and, you know. Let's
get Joe on here and get to talking, man.
I love it. You know, Joe's got such a cool story. I can't wait for us to hear it and talk about it. And I think you're exactly right. So after these messages.
Hey folks, to get your official Live It in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to prowrestlingtees.com/live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
All right, guys, we're back. And as promised, I got Joe Gomez on the line. Joe, what's going on, my friend?
Not much, boys. I'm really honored to be here. Look forward to talking to you guys and bringing up some good old memories.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Last time I saw you was at the Ric Flair gimmick. But where I met you, let the people in on that. I met you down in Tampa when I stayed down there. I was down there for about a year and met you there through Shannon and a few other people. And we did the volleyball thing. I don't think you played volleyball with us, but you were there quite a few times. And we had a good time. And I remember meeting you, man, and I was like, this is a big dude, man. This is a big dude. And you just have this presence about you where I felt like this dude's connected in some kind of way, man. He's got to be like Tampa Mafia or some shit.
Listen, I got a lot of very dear friends.
What was it you said that Flair said? Flair said that him, Joe Gomez, and who's the other two?
So, yeah, Ric Flair recently said that he, Tom Brady, Joe Gomez, and another gentleman are the 4 horsemen of Tampa. So
that would be Dino Trafficani. Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much it there.
Yeah, those are the guys. And then Kevin Sullivan, of course, calls you the mayor of Ybor.
Those guys have actually, if anything, helped promulgate or further that reputation. Give them the opportunity to wrestle and be on national TV and travel with Rick and with Kevin. I've just been so blessed, and friends like you guys. Man. That's what I love about the wrestling business. You never know where you're going to meet people. I met Wolfie down here in Tampa. Couldn't be more of a gentleman and a true brother, and that's what our business is about. So
absolutely,
yeah. Thank you. So I know what your morning consisted of. My morning consisted of going to cardiac rehab therapy that I have to do now for the next 12 weeks, 3 times a week, because I had to have another stent put in my heart. Okay. But not to go down that road, but why don't you tell everybody who you were hanging out with this morning?
Oh, wow, yeah. We went to one of our local haunts in West Tampa and had, God, who all was there? Let's see. Gerald Briscoe, Brian Blair, Steve Keirn, Billy Alfonso, another mutual friend of all of ours.
Yeah.
The referee, Lightning Lou Perez, Steve Madison, a couple guys, local guys, and Buck Quartermain.
Wow. Yeah.
Where was Spivey at?
Dandy didn't make it. Dandy usually comes, but he didn't make it. Dandy usually comes. Al Perez usually comes. Scott McGee comes sometimes.
I know Scott.
Wow.
Good guy. Real good guy. So it's nice. Now I'm an old timer. So you hang out with it's a lot of fun. Steve trained me and in the business. And that's just been like a dear older brother, uncle since 30 some years.
We had a great conversation with Steve on here. He was nice enough to come on, and I know he doesn't do this type of stuff that often, man. And
no, he's right. He doesn't. He doesn't like to, but that's a hell of a compliment because he is just one of the best people I've ever met. He really is. Yeah. And it's a good place in life right now with his faith and family and watching his grandbabies, and he's just in a great place. So happy.
That's awesome.
Good. It's really good to hear. Jimmy, go ahead with some wrestling questions.
I mean, bro, I look at your list of accomplishments. We recently had Reno Riggins on.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
that'll.
Yeah,
Reno. Good dude.
Yeah, and Reno's going down his list, and he's like this guy. He basically says the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, and I look at your list, brother, and it's right there. I mean, but let's not get there just yet. So you were trained by Steve, Steve is like our icon of this show. He really means so much to us. One of our first really big shows, and you were in his territory. Obviously, it wasn't Steve's own territory, but with the Grahams and
I wasn't. If I can, I'll interrupt you. I'm sorry for a second. I wasn't fortunate enough to have the opportunity to meet Eddie, but Mike was my first tag team partner. Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. I was getting to it, but I didn't get there quick enough. Eddie, you were in the CWF that Eddie built, and you were with his son in a tag team. Talk about that with Mike, man. How was that starting out with that guy?
I gotta tell you guys, it was surreal because I was in a wedding. Actually, Lightning Lou Perez's wedding.
Yeah.
And Dusty Rhodes and Mike Grand came up to me and asked if I wanted to be a wrestler. And of course, after I finished wetting my pants and, speak again, I said, oh my God, yes, but it took me like probably 3 months to get the courage to go down to the Sportatorium because, you always heard the old stories about how Hiro Matsuda snapped Hulk Hogan's ankle.
Right.
And they always stretch the boys and everything. And again, that was a whole generation before us, Wolf. Right. No, not you. Memphis is tough. But pretty much a generation before me, to be honest. Yeah. But I still was afraid to go. And then Ron Slinker, who was pretty much the enforcer there after Roop and a real tough guy, Vietnam veteran, Tampa cop that got fired for killing another guy, and used to get arrows in the wide world of sports, 5-degree black belt. He'd run into me around town, and the champ would say, "Kid, I thought you were coming down." And, "Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be there." And I would run out the other door, scared for my life. But then finally, other guys would say, "Joe, they really like you. They blah, blah, blah. They think they can make money, whatever." So I screwed up my courage, went down there, and, couldn't have been better. Steve Keirn, as you know, guys, is like a big brother, loving kind of guy. Even back then, he cared about you as being one of his boys. And if he was going to put you out in the business and you were going to use his name, he wanted it to be the right way. So I was very blessed. And then to have Mike Graham as my tag team partner, forget it. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Every night it was the same thing. Pete on the kid, hot tag to Mike.
Yeah. That's awesome.
A lot of fun. And I'd be standing there, "Hey, Mike, we get it out up there?" "Yeah, kid." And he'd leave me in a cloud of dust in his Corvette, like, "Oh, okay, next time," But he was really good guy.
Man, where everything wasn't on TV and you could go out there and not necessarily have the exact same match every night, but you know what I mean. You could still do the stuff and nobody would know the difference. But
Yes. Well, mind you, I only had 17, 18 matches, until Ole came down scouting the talent. We were defending the tag team titles against the Nasty Boys, and they were there for them, obviously, not me. And Mike was, past that prime of going, to go wrestle. He eventually went back as an agent. So I guess Ole liked something about me, looks-wise, physical, whatever. So they signed me, and I really wasn't ready for that, So, and in hindsight, I'm glad I did it, because who knows if you get another shot. That's what Keirn told me. I called her from the 13th floor at CNN Center because they flew me up. I'm like, "Steve, they want me to sign a contract. Should I?" "Hell yeah. You don't know if you'll get that chance again." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yes, sir." They put me right on the road that day. I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I go over the Sheik, the Iron Sheik. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's going to kill me.
Yeah.
But could not have been nicer. Could not have been easier. "Oh, JJ. No, sir, my name's Joe." "No, you're Joe Jabroni." I'm like, "Oh, yes, sir. Joe Jabroni." Yes.
Joe Jabroni. I love it. So chic. That is so cheeky. I remember the first time I ever met him when we were in WWF. He looks over at me, and I mean, he didn't. We probably shook hands or something, but I did not know the guy. And he's got his he's done took a shower. And he's got his little skivvies on, and he's got his bag open, and he's got a brush, and he pulls out a hairdryer and fucking starts combing his mustache and looking at me and smiling real big like he's blow drying it, and it wasn't hooked up, and it was like, it's a trip, man.
Listen, and he'd be doing shrugs with his suitcases going through the airport. I roomed the first night with him and a guy named Al Green, God rest his soul, one of the Master Black.
Yeah.
And, proceeds to get naked, of course. We healed the room.
Sure.
Pulls the cot out. I said, "Oh, I'll sleep on that, sir," being respectful, of course. He goes, "Oh, no, baby. I'll take the cot. It's in not Myrtle Beach. What's the one where the dollhouse and after day?" Yeah, that is Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, that's Myrtle Beach,
South Carolina. Yeah.
The dollhouse.
Well, not that we went there, but I just
Right, I get it.
So
puts
it in about 40-degree weather, and I'm freezing because I'm a Florida boy through and through.
Right.
Puts the cot halfway on the balcony. It's a shoot. Leaves the window open. Of course, is naked. Climbs in the cot and goes to sleep. And he sleeps like Kurt. He's making noises like, he really does that. So Al Green is in the other bed, naked, of course, showing me his tattoos, telling me how he's in a motorcycle gang and how they initiate them with young boys. I'm flipped out of my mind. I'm fully dressed, freezing in a leather jacket. So next day we catch up. There was 2 crews back then. WCW was running 2 crews. And I see Flair on at the airport. They go, "Kid, what's wrong? You look horrible." Didn't sleep. I proceed to tell him the story. Flair spits orange juice all over the seat in front of him. "Oh, that's okay. It's fun. You can ride with us now." I'm like, "Really?" "I'm riding with the Horsemen." I'm like, "Oh, this is amazing." Oh. Then that year I made $52,000. They paid me $1,000 a week, of which really I was probably worth half of that. $8,000 my first year running around with Flair and the Horsemen. So
Yeah, you were always getting in those situations. You could tell now that I know about you and know you, you can always tell that those guys were like, hey, let's involve Joe, because you were always right there helping somebody out and they would attack you. I can't count the number of times that happened.
Oh, listen, I was the king of, backstage. Oh, here, brother, let me give you, it's a horseman. All of a sudden they're attacking Renegade and Joe Gomez who are left laying in a pool of their blood.
Yeah.
But, you get some kind of rub on that.
Yeah, but nothing wrong with that, dude. You're talking about Iron Sheik and WCW 1990. First of all, I feel like that era of WCW, that early era of WCW, really, I feel like if it had somebody like a Vince McMahon running it, that would have been one of the greatest companies in the world, because, I mean, you worked with the Fabulous Freebirds, Iron Sheik, Buddy Landell, watch the hair, Stan Hansen.
Junkyard Dog, God rest his soul.
JYD, exactly.
Yeah.
Mike Rotunda. Yeah, rock and roll, and you were in an 8-man tag with the Southern Boys and you went over the Horsemen. I mean, dude. And then, of course, you were teaming with Wildfire on the Clash of the Champions, too. So, I mean, they were putting it on you quick, man. They believed in you.
I told you.
They did. I wasn't ready for it.
I'm telling you, this is mafia money. He was getting.
I wish. No, you know what? It was just they obviously they had a certain whatever, if I had a physical appeal or whatever, but
totally.
I was green as goose shit, and I wish I had really practiced more and done the things. But let's see, what do I do? I run around Rick and on all the time and get drunk, and run around and with stewardesses and everything else under the sun, or do I practice and diet and train hard and all that stuff?
Right.
I wasn't that. I had Barry Windham with me too, and let me tell you, in the day, Barry Windham was the man, brother.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I used to love to watch Barry when I was a kid, man. I always appreciated him. I felt like I was one of those, like I've told Jimmy this. I felt like I was a smart mark before it was such a thing, but I appreciated everything. I didn't, knock it, or even like as a kid, I would protect the business before I ever got in it to my friends.
Wolfie, I know exactly what you mean, because you loved it so much and you would never let anybody say it. I was the same way.
Yeah.
People would knock it. I'm like, it isn't fake. You couldn't do that, because I respected so much, what those guys did. Even at a young age like you, Wolf, I just always, it gets in your blood, and that's it. You're done.
Yeah. So now I got to ask this question, because in that list, I know I read a lot of names there, but one of the names, I want to kind of draw some comparisons here, because Wolfie D, Wolfie D is one of those guys that was considered a carpenter. He hates that name. He had his shine and time, but he also knew how to work, and he was a working son of a gun. And I've heard many men say that. And just like you, Joe, just like you, and you wrestled Stan Hansen, who is known for what? That blind knock your head off clothesline. Now, Wolfie D actually has a method that's tried and true to not get your head knocked off with clotheslines. But just talk to us about wrestling Stan Hansen, and then maybe Wolfie will give us that story.
Wolf, I was scared to death because I had seen him probably a few weeks prior. It wasn't much longer than that, maybe a month or two, at center stage. And he just shredded some guy's face because the guy didn't, duck on the clothesline, whatever. And boom, nailed him with it. And I was just like, okay. And I thought that was mortifying just to be there. Then I see my face my name on the board, on the TV thing, Gomez Hansen. I'm like, okay. It was probably 7 or 8 minutes, and he gave me quite a bit and could not have been lighter or more generous. And he told me after, kid, I wish I had more time to work with young guys like you to pass it on. What an absolute guy and gentleman. One of the nicest guys I ever met in the business. But as you guys know, the tougher they are, the nicer they are. Hakeem's one of the guys you'll meet in this earth. But definitely the last guy you ever want to, throw hands with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because they ain't got to flaunt it. They already know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice guy and generous and giving. And, this man, I wish I could teach you more and have more time to really, teach us. And sir, thank you. It was an honor, and it really was. Hell, he was a handsome mark. God.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what Jimmy was referring to is my theory and my technique that I used to win.
Tell me.
Because I was always, I mean, me and Jamie weren't the biggest guys, until later when I started doing slash and put on all the size and everything. But as PG-13, I was a lot smaller, younger, than these bigger grown men. And so I'm taking clotheslines from Hawk, from the Steiners, and I'll throw one in there that may surprise you. I don't know if you ever worked with him, Perry Saturn. Perry Saturn's clothes kill you.
Oh. That's a bad dude there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And but my theory is to come in and right at the end, almost come in like a shoulder tackle, and I try to put my shoulder in their armpit. Because if I can crowd them that much, I can still make it look good. But all the velocity is out on the hand. The highest velocity is out on the hand, also depending on how they throw it. But if I crowd them in, I can still make it look good. And they think it look good and don't kill me.
You're not letting them whip it like JBL or how Barry Windham used to. I know exactly. That's good. I wish you would have taught me that. Approximately 30 or 60 flip me up, Danny Spivey, Stanley. I can't say anything, but Sid Vicious was a little, God bless him.
Yeah, did too. I developed that through trial and error. Nobody showed me that.
Listen, brother, you were a bumping fool. You and Jamie both. You guys can work, man. That's what it's about it.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So you were tagging with Tim Horner for a little bit, and you wrestled Al Green and Kevin Nash of the Master Blasters.
Horn Dog and Double A were best friends.
Yeah,
so we would all try, and Pee Wee, of course, God rest his soul. So we'd all travel together, and it was just, man, let me tell you, Tim Horner, and not only that, Tim Horner, people don't realize that. You guys do, because you're in the business, but he was one of the best hands. Him and Brad Armstrong could have been tag team champs anywhere.
They were just at a weird time, man, because you're right, bro, because the rock and roll were kind of in their way. You know what I mean? And I remember I love that time of NWA, Crockett. I mean, all that time. That's what led me to knowing who you were in the 90s is because I was a huge fan of all that era. And I just feel like the Lightning Express, they had that Rock and Roll Express in the way and the Road Warriors weren't going to be moved. And,
I remember we also had the Midnight Express there too.
Totally.
And guys, you're talking some of the greatest tag teams ever. Oh,
yeah. Well, let's talk about Bobby Eaton, man, because you were kind of in that, in that realm of workers, the guys that were there that, like Bobby Eaton would be brought out there. And, Bobby Eaton's one of the greatest talents. I'm telling you this, I think Bobby's one of the best ever. Absolutely. And I love Ric Flair. Ric Flair's my favorite. Of course, I love Wolfie D, Macho Man, Ricky, all those guys. But I'm telling you, I still think Bobby Eaton's one of the greatest of all time. So
without question. Listen, Bobby can work with anybody, and Arn will tell you that. You ever listen to Arn's podcast and just talk to Arn, and you guys know him, he'll tell you Bobby Eaton was one of the top in the history of the business. He could work singles. He just couldn't cut a promo,
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for that, Bobby Eaton would have been top 5 all time. He was unbelievable. Alabama Jam off the top rope. Oh my God.
Yeah, the main thing to me with Bobby was just all the, he was calling it in the ring, man. He's just out there on the playground having fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And he wouldn't even have to call. He would just go by touch, and just go along with him, and he would put you where he wanted you. It's unbelievable.
Right.
Really, and literally, again, one of the best guys you'll ever meet on the face of the earth. God rest his soul.
Man. There was a time when in Nashville, me, Jamie, Gypsy Joe, a kid named Chris Michaels, and I think maybe our midget lived with us. But we all lived in different apartments. But we all go, and Bobby would stay sometimes. I think him and Donna were having problems, and he stayed like a summer or something. But anyway, we all go down to the pool, and I know you've probably seen Bobby around kids, man, but he was so good with my kids and all the other kids that were there. and it was like, man, Bobby's such a good dude, man. You know, the only thing that got him the bad rap, and it was hard to give him a bad rap, but the only knock ever has just been, you know, with problems with alcohol, man. And that's sad because I know that story all too well, but Bobby was fucking badass individual.
Yeah.
They don't get any better. And he always had that bag of candy. Chief, want some candy?
Yeah.
He had anything in there, you know.
Anything. He had the hockey bag. Remember, it was like a hockey bag when hockey players carried.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss that guy.
I did a little managing. I'm not too much in the business, Joe, but I did a little managing in Nashville. That's actually how I met Wolfie. And so I walk. And I'd worked with Bobby, you know, I was a heel manager. I'd worked with Bobby a couple times in North Carolina and Virginia, okay? Very early, very green. Well, I get to this company named Saw, and Wolfie would kind of come in there when he wasn't working TNA or somewhere else. And on the back of the wall, you know, kind of where the old-timers sat, you had Bobby Eaton, you had a local promoter named Mike Searcy, you had Reno and Wolfie, okay? I didn't know any of them except Bobby. I walk up to Bobby, I shake his hand, and he jumps up and gives me a huge hug. And out of the corner of my eye, of course, I'm a PG-13 mark, so I see Wolfie and Reno. He's awesome too. And I look in the corner of my eye, and they look at each other like, "Who's this guy?" And they kind of like shrug their shoulders. And after Bobby embraces me and says, "How you doing, brother? Good to see you. How you been?" All this. I walk down the row. I meet Mike Cersei, and then I shake Reno, and Reno's like, "Okay, well, if Bobby likes him, he can't be half bad." You know?
You were made. Listen, you were made right there.
It really was true, man. It really was. And I know Wolfie probably doesn't remember that. We've talked about it in the past, but what's funny is I just saw that they accepted me in their own way. They were like, all right, he can't be half bad.
If Bobby Eaton likes you, you're a good person, because he was the best, man. And like I said, I miss him dearly. I hadn't seen him in years, and it really broke my heart when Arn told me he had gone. And such a good guy.
Yeah. So you know, not to get off of Bobby, because I could talk Bobby all day, but this is your show, Joe. We're going to dedicate this one to you. Okay. So the next step you do is you end up in IWA Japan, brother, working for Victor Quinones. Now, okay, let me just settle one thing before we get to the actual work in Japan. Is it true that he was Gorilla's son?
No. Victor Quinones? No, I never heard that.
Okay, because that was apparently I read online that in his obituary, it listed Victor as his son. So maybe it was like a tributary kind of thing or something.
I never saw that. I mean, I knew his son, Joey Morella, unfortunately, he was taking part and it was a great guy, but I did not, I never saw Victor, no.
Okay, well, we're settling that right now. But anyway, talk about...
Guys, they never in our business. Never.
There you go. Talk about IWA Japan. You're saying you're too green in WCW, but now you're in Japan.
Well, and they had wanted me to go, originally, they wanted me to go to Portland to go work for Arch Daddy, Sandy Bar. But, I couldn't commit to a full-time, schedule in Portland. I just really had no desire to. So they sent me over to Japan a few times for a few tours, just to try to get some of the greenness off, get me some good ring experience and put me in with better guys, because obviously you're going to get better when you work with better guys. And I think it worked to a degree, but I just had, I had other businesses going on, so I couldn't really fully commit to a full-time Japan deal. And Johnny Ace, who still is one of my best friends, was over there for Baba. Yeah. And I had an opportunity to go over there, but it just, I had bars here and restaurants and other things. And I really wish I had committed 110% to wrestling, because I do love it.
Yeah.
But at the time I had other businesses that, that required a commitment. And as you guys know, with your podcast, anything you do take pride in and that you really care, that you really want to be good, that you love, you're going to give 100% to.
Absolutely.
But I was just too spread out, I think. And Eric Bischoff always tells me that. And he would always, "Kid, can't you just?" And I'm like, "Eric, I wish, you give me every so thankful to him." But, at that time, I think I was just, and I think everything works out. I ended up being, I'm very pleased and happy where I am. And I got to meet some incredible guys, make some great friendships, travel all over, and have the time of my life. So I really have no regrets. But I do wish I'd been a little bit more serious, I guess you could say, about the wrestling business, perhaps. But everything, turned out great. I have nothing to say.
Yeah. Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D. Hey folks, this is Wolfie D here, and if you are looking to buy or sell a home in Tennessee or Southern Kentucky, you're going to want to call my buddy, the rock star realtor, Benji Bowie. And you say, Wolfie, how do I get in touch with this rock star? Well, you can call him directly at 615-390-8216. You can go to his website, bowiehomes.com. That's B-U-I-E homes.com. Or you can email him at benbowie34@gmail.com. When you need a home, you need the Rockstar Realtor.
Benji is a member of Exit Realty's Garden Gate team in Gallatin, Tennessee.
So what led me to bugging Wolfie enough to get you on the show? Last week, of course, Wolfie had this idea for a possible show idea, and he sent out a mass text. And in that text, some of the guys got heat and popped, like some guy. But like you said, yeah, absolutely, whatever. He was going down the list of the guys that were responding. And he said, dada, 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 king, dada, 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 Joe Gomez. And I'm like, Joe Gomez? He's like, yeah, I know Joe Gomez. And I was like, the Joe Gomez? And I said, here's the deal. And I just explained this earlier on at the beginning of the show before we got you on. So my friends and I, we were just out of high school. We loved Nitro and Raw. Okay. And, but Nitro was our stuff because we were Southern kids, and Nitro was always the way to go for us. And then we would maybe flip over to Raw in the commercials. But we all had our underneath guy, our carpenters, as Wolfie likes to tell me to say. And, one guy had Roadblock, the other guy had, Norman Smiley, and I had Joe Gomez. And Joe Gomez was my guy. So much so that whenever you would wrestle, I treat you like Hulk Hogan, literally. And the whole match, I would be like, come on, Joe, you're coming back. And I mean, dude, it was amazing because we were old enough to know some of the things about wrestling. I still didn't know nothing about it, but really thought I knew. And we always picked our guys. And what's so funny is I just remember like just really just putting it out there, like, come on, Joe, you got this one. So you were my guy, Joe. So I just wanted to say that real quick too.
Well, Jimmy, I appreciate it. And, like when Wolfie and I were training, they say if you could look out in the audience and make contact and really connect with that one person and make him feel what you're feeling and up and down and take him through the whole roller coaster ride of emotion. Did well, so you're my one guy. Thank you.
Hey, I'm happy to be that guy, Joe. I'm happy. I always thought, man, I was like, this dude is so cool looking. He's got this long black hair. He's got, he's got what are you, like 6'5"? What are you?
I'm 6'3", back then in shape, I was 240, 235, 240. And, I played football in college, so athletically, it wasn't the question. Like I said, I think I was just too spread out all over the place. I had on here, a bar, a sushi restaurant, a bar called Cherries in Ybor City. And, back then Ybor City was just unreal. There'd be 30, 40,000 people in the middle of the street. They blocked the street off. People just walking there. And it was just crazy. It was a great time, great money. And I was trying to balance that along with wrestling. And it was just too much, And then in hindsight, I wish I would have done the other. But like I said, I think the good guy upstairs has a way of, making sure everything works out the way it's supposed to. So
right.
But I did enjoy my time in the wrestling business, and it's just such a brotherhood. Me and Wolfie, we never worked in the ring. We never worked on the same card.
Right.
I consider, because we both been there, we both bled, we both sweat, and it's just that bond, and that's what I love about it.
It's amazing though, like you said, just really met each other in retirement basically for both of us. And absolutely. There was a instant like, okay, I get you and you get me, and you seem like a cool dude type thing, you know what I mean?
And it just unsaid, and that's why, to be honest, I responded to that as, Wolfie D's guy, oh man, anything for him. He was a really good dude. And Van Dang always speaks so highly of some of our other mutual friends. And I said, I said, I knew him back up there. He was in the car business, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So absolutely, man. It's always good to catch up with old friends.
Yeah, and kind of to backtrack just a second and to kind of get you into the nostalgia of the old days and all that. When you were talking about getting the people, and Jimmy was talking about how involved he was watching you, and getting the people emotionally involved with you in the ring.
Sure.
Don't you just totally miss? I mean, and the pressure for the match to me was so much easier when there was baby faces on one side, heels on the other, and the referee would come tell you the finish, and you go out there and you do what you know how to do, listen to the people, and have your match. It was just, the pressure was off because it was just like, go out there and just do it, instead of remembering 4 bazillion things that may not even work for that particular crowd.
Well, you know what, Wolfie, that, to me, that's the biggest thing. And Paul Orndorff told me as I was coming up, kid, don't worry, blah, blah, blah. It takes about 1,000 matches till that light bulb turns on. Yeah. And I agree. Now that I've had 1,000 matches, if my body would let me, I feel really confident about being able to do it, to work really well, because I get it now. If you think you're going too slow, slow down. Never stop selling, keep moving. All the little things that we learn, through the years. And then once you have it all put together, well, now it's too late, because I didn't, do it for 10 years straight, solid, 320 nights or 300 nights a year. So that's my one regret, because I do get it now. And you can watch a match and say, maybe it would have been good if you did this or that,
Yeah.
But you're right, Wolfie. When you know what you're doing and the constraints are off, you don't have to go through a script, which some guys, it's great. DDP used to write his matches out on 4 pages of the legal pad, and for him, it worked that way. Yeah. But I agree with you that you got to react to the crowd. If they're not responding to this, let's try this, and as long as you know what the finish is and the heat spot is, well, flesh it out. Yeah. But I couldn't do that with 17 matches, and I was a deer in the headlights, So,
and I've been known to come up with like hella long finishes, but to me, that's the part they remember anyway. All the other stuff is just dressing. I mean, you had a good high spots, a good heat spots, something like that. Sure. The rest of it is just dressing. And then let's give them a good, long, unpredictable, false finish, filled finish.
Absolutely. Hey, you want to pop them. And if you pop them, you did your job. Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree. And I just wish, I had the experience and the ability to do that when I was younger. And I didn't, but and what are you going to do? Listen,
where did you play college football at?
Played at Garden City, Kansas first, because I might have had a little academic problems when it was a judo in the Jayhawk conference, and then I went to University of Louisville. I was in '86, the year we won the national title in basketball. Actually,
okay,
Never nervous Purvis Ellison as a center. A lot of fun there.
That's awesome. Yeah, Wolfie knows Louisville well.
Yes.
Oh God, you guys both do. What are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. And, we always are talking stories about Louisville some way, whether we had Dean Hill on, who tells us about, his associate locking out Prince at the Gardens, or Wolfie D talking about, never mind, girls coming up the back. Never mind. We'll skip on that one.
Those were the glory days of the territory. Those are gone now, but I know what Wolfie's talking about. That Memphis territory was supposedly one of the best.
It was a lot of fun.
All you guys that worked that territory, Jimmy, they were the best, because they would tell the girls, "Come on down," whatever, and say, "Tuesday night's my birthday," and they'd be working the gimmick in every town. So every the girls are coming up with cakes, and Bob Eaton was the best at that. Cakes and pies and presents, and it was unreal.
It's genius. It's genius.
Flair would do it. God bless him. He'd do it like if we were in Tampa. We're going to be at Cherries, 18 to 28, no boyfriends. Come on down. We'll be at Cherries, and he'd give me a $5,000 night, pop. So he did that. We went. Awesome.
I can hear Edith singing "Those Were the Days."
Yeah, you're right.
That's awesome. So you brought it up, and to me, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time, and I don't know another one that will come in the future. I don't even know that anybody can, because to me, Ric Ric Flair is the greatest person to ever lace up a pair of boots. So now you know him as the wrestler, obviously, and you know him as one of your best friends. So tell me this. I'm not asking for specifics on names or anything, but just give us a good Nachin story.
Guys, listen, he's 73. He'll be 74 in February, and he's still got it. There's a place right by his condo where he lives in Channelside, which is the up-and-coming area, right by the ice hockey rink, and there's a $2 billion development that Jeff Vinnick, the owner of the Lightning, and Bill Gates are developing, and right by downtown. Pretty amazing. And he lives right there in the middle of it. He's got his boat there, the Woo, which is a 30-foot 350s on it. That'll go about 92 miles an hour. Beautiful boat. But he goes down and he'll go to a place called American Social, and it skewers much younger, obviously, 20-somethings. And I'll be damned if he's not FaceTiming. Oh, Chief, look at this. Oh, this is, and I'm like, I got to go. I'm helping my daughter with homework. Oh, Chief, you got to come down here. Listen, I've got Audrey and I got to go. Daddy, who was that? Oh, no, I don't know who it was, honey. It was wrong number. That was Rick, wasn't it? No, I don't think it was.
Scam call, I think.
He's got a love of life that I've never seen. He's cheated death 3 times.
Right.
And 7 years ago, I went, unfortunately saw him in a coma in Atlanta, and we didn't think he was going to make it.
Yeah.
And he's unbelievable. His lust and love of life, and just his enthusiasm over everything. Of course, he loves the business more than anything. But just his enthusiasm about spending time, he would, with you guys, he would have a great time sitting there talking about the business, and him and Lawler and Memphis, and because he loves the business, and he loves being with the boys and chewing it up with the boys. And he's a great friend, through some of my toughest times, and vice versa. We've been there for each other, loss of his son and, other horrible things. My parents, I've spent 5-6 Christmases at his home with his family, and Arn too, for that matter. So that's the thing about our business. And, Wolfie's been in longer than I, or perhaps.
Right about the same. I think I started training in the end of 1989. I was 15, about to be 16, and then was
been in it longer than me. I took breaks here and there, and went back to the bar business and came back. And you have been consistently, earning your living from the business for 30 years, 25. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you've got a lot more under your belt than me, and just all the people you've met and the experiences you've had. You just can't match it anywhere. The brotherhood. It's really special. When you're with a guy like Wolfie, growing up, Lawler's his idol. He's close to Jerry, sure. And I was close to Rick, and he was my idol. It just makes everything even more special. It's crazy. I got to pinch myself. I'm running around Ric Flair, tagging with Jerry Lawler's son, and it's just we're blessed. We're both very, very fortunate.
Yeah, and I mean, that's constantly a debate on this show, actually, is what's funny is we'll always ask somebody, because, I'm a Ric Flair mark, Mid-Atlantic kid. Wolfie D is a Jerry Lawler mark. Now, don't get it twisted. You can reverse that. I know Wolfie loves Flair. I know I love Lawler. But at the same time, to me, they're always 1 and 2 in that remark, of absolutely so amazing at their craft. Flair and his bill, Lawler and his punch. Flair and his
dropping the strap, and when you have the strap, shit's on.
And guys, Joe, having worked Memphis for so long, I've told Jimmy this before, but I'm telling you, man, to this day, if Jerry Lawler is walking down the streets of Memphis in his gimmick and he pulls the strap down, motherfuckers would take off running the opposite way.
Listen, guys, I know the ratings that you guys drew there for the past 50 years, and if you do that on national, that means like half the country would be watching. Those are the ratings that Memphis drew. It'll never be touched again. I mean, literally half the city was watching, or 3/4 of the city was watching their program. So I don't know that there would be another Jerry Lawler either. The way that he ran his team, the money that he made, the way that he stayed on top for 4 decades. There'll never be another Lawler. There'll never be another Flair because of longevity. You know,
Right.
the quality
Right.
they have.
Well, you know
They're
what?
level up.
In general, another thing that I've said a bunch of times today, we will not have the superstars of the past. And what I mean by that, there's still a few of them around. Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, you know, people like that. And I don't mean just singers. There's some old athletes. I'm talking about the people that you do not see pictures of on TMZ looking like shit, or
Right.
you don't see
Right.
them out places because you know what they do? They get on stage and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know,
That
it's so
to me
funny you say
is
that.
a superstar. Now I know Flair and Lawler, they, you know, get out and do things and Instagram and shit. But I'm talking about Elvis's and just mega stars of the past will never be again.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think that's so observant. And I read a quote, somebody said there's no movie stars anymore because
Right.
they don't, you know, they're grungy and all this. I think George Clooney is about the only guy that carries any of that aura
Yeah.
of the old.
And I understand it's a necessity now to keep up or whatever, but it's like when you're on social media, it's almost like the people start seeing you as their friend, because that's what it's called on social media, friends. You're no longer that star that is untouchable, and just because of the way it is, and like just going out to the gimmick table, for instance, Jimmy knows this one too. I used to get mad at Jamie because he'd want to go out every single night, and I said, no, you're trying to make fucking friends out there. I said, I want them to think that we are a step above that, and that's not being arrogant. That's being a star. Know what I'm saying?
Yep. You're right. I always want to leave them. We want to leave them wanting more, and I couldn't agree. Never be first at a party, never be last to leave. And I live my life like that. I agree. I mean, listen, no more John Waynes and there's no more Elvis Presleys.
No, there isn't. And there's no more Ric Flairs. But here's the one thing about Ric Flair. Let me just shoot my shot here. You know, you brought up the idea of Flair coming on the show. We're open to that anytime he wants to.
You know what, guys? Let me do this. Sometime when we're chewing it up here, like this past week would have been good. He had the week off.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's going to go see Mongo. Chicago. I'm going to go try to meet him Saturday.
Yeah.
Because he's doing really bad. God bless him. So he's going to go see Mongo. Rick's been so good about that, man. He's probably gone to see Mongo 8-9 times. I've gone about 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's
Rick's
a bad situation.
Guys, he's one of the toughest, strongest physical. I heard you say earlier when you were talking about moving somebody in the ring. Mongo was that guy that you're trying to move, and I wasn't a ring general, but I knew more than him.
Yeah.
And I'm in the ring, and it was just he's a block of granite. And
there's plenty of YouTube compilations with some of his stuff. I mean, even like Sullivan trying to move him around and just different people that are like, golly.
Yeah, what's funny about Mongo is everybody talks about how his footwork wasn't proper for wrestling. If you watch his footwork, that's a football player's footwork right there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. So maybe it doesn't translate exactly to a wrestler's footwork, but he was still, I mean, I don't know. He was not the worst in the world. I'm just going to say that, you know.
Given the fact that he hardly trained,
right.
He was a natural. And it's like Flair said, that's why Flair always loved him being a horseman. He was a legit tough guy.
And he fit the horseman. He definitely
Oh,
did.
yeah. Listen, Mongo would go out on I remember in Philadelphia, we lost him for 3 days on the tour. I can't remember the name of the place in Philly. I know you will, Wolfie. Delilah's.
Okay, yeah, I do that place. Yeah.
Didn't pick him up 3 days down the road, and he was rare form, brother.
Yeah.
He did not, but he was a great guy, and just a real personality, and you know, gave a lot to the business. I think, you know, even as a commentator, he was tremendous.
I thought so too. You know, you talk about these guys like Pat McAfee now and stuff. Mongo kind of opened that door for those guys, in my sense. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah. And he had the. Yeah. And he had the gimmick with the dog. It was just hilarious. I mean, and everything he said just seemed real, you know, like his opinion really mattered because, hey, look, I may not be Ric Flair, but I can punch that dude in the mouth and he's going to feel it, you know? So,
listen, he came right off the 85, possibly the greatest defense ever. And he was a main cog of that. And he had the beauty queen wife. And it's like he would always tell he always tell me, Mongo, maybe you should, slow down. Kid, I got more money than I got time on the earth. What do you say to him?
Wouldn't that? I'd love to be able to say that.
Well, I used to always do that. I told Rick this the other day. We were somewhere. We were watching. He's got a maybe I should. Well, he's got a new documentary.
Yeah.
In December called Finding Flair.
Yeah.
We went and watched it yesterday. To preview it and everything, and they really did a good job. It's with WWE.
Really?
And yeah,
Right.
It's awesome.
It's like a big time producer, director too. I can't remember the name, but it's big time. It's going to be legit.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's really, really well done. It's fair,
Yeah.
They give, it was.
Is it for theaters or is it going straight to streaming somewhere?
No, it's going to be. I think they said December 26th. They're still up in the air about when they're going, because they pushed it back 2 or 3 times. And they did some more. But
Gotcha.
we were talking, and I told because the guy was asking me, Ben, the director, actually, for Flair stories. I said, well, I used to always love to say, oh, this is my favorite one. Kid, I've made 10 million and I've spent 20 million. I'm like, I want to be just like you. No. Do as I say, don't do as I do. But I always wanted to be like him, because he was.
Yeah.
Time, I never.
So let me guess. Are you in the documentary?
No.
I thought they would interview you or something for it.
No. This dealt with a lot of things, the plane crash, the ride from hell, the plane trip from hell, and his loss of Reed, some other things. But no, these were all, and it was WWE produced. I was never in WWE with them.
I got you.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
They did a really, really good job. It was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, you brought up earlier, Al Perez. Well, now our boy Wolfie D does a pretty good whirly bird too. So, speaking of
that's who I stole it from too.
Yeah.
When I started doing it, he had been out of the business for a long time. I hadn't seen it done. Yep. I used to love it when I watched TBS, the whirly bird, and I adopted it like in about 2000, 2001.
Yeah, great move.
I've seen both years. Yeah, Al's a good guy and a very good friend. He's happily retired here in Tampa. A real good family man. Had a few health issues, but he's doing well now.
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
His manager was the guy that I tried to model myself after with Gary Hart, because I'm a 6'2" bald guy. So, trying to, some of my wrestlers weren't as tall as I was. So I always had to make myself shorter somehow. So, yeah.
Gary,
so,
let me tell you though, no better guy to model yourself after Gary Hart to get heat, brother. Oof.
Oh yeah, in the back too, I've heard. But at the same time, I had an interview with Greg Gagne on another podcast. I brought Gary up to Greg, and Greg was like, "Why would you bring him up?" And I'm like, "Oh God, why? What do you mean?"
Wow.
And he said, "Oh, he really screwed me over." So I'm like, "Okay, sorry, we'll take that out of the show. Sorry, Greg Gagne." Anyway.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm sure Greg, you got a lot of Gary Hart stories from you.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Yeah. I kind of just stepped away from that, and he explained it a little bit. But, one guy I want to talk about before we kind of wrap things up with you here is, you had a little run there. Like you said, you found yourself in the hallway beating up with the Renegade. That's one guy that I at the time I remember the whole deal was supposed to be, the Warrior, kind of a makeup of the Warrior. Yeah. But then it kind of turned into such a sad situation that obviously he's not here anymore. And I know a lot of people have these videos on YouTube, like, the worst wrestler in WCW or whatever. But I mean, the dude, it sounds like he kind of got put into a business. I'll let you tell the story. It's a tragic story. So.
It is. And Wolfie's been around it probably a million times with other guys in the Memphis territory when they try to create a monster, like Lord Humongous or whatever. Yeah. And they try to create this one in Warrior's likeness, for Hogan to get that win back over Warrior.
Right.
And I think that they thought it would be easier for Rick on a learning curve. I knew Rick from Tampa years prior in the bar business, and just a good guy. And I believe he's actually from Georgia, so he was just a good old country boy, and got a little gassed up to put the weight on because he wasn't that big, down here. He was in the entertainment industry, but another faction.
Right.
So when he got up there, right after they did the deal with Hogan, and he didn't catch on and didn't get over, they kind of just tossed him aside. And I think that was real tough for Rick, because, I mean, they were literally, I was there. We were at Bash at the Beach in 94 when I was signing, and it was in L.A., and Rick and I were just meeting, and, Jimmy Hart, who is the best, as you know, Wolfie, just one of the best people you'll ever meet. And he was always trying to push ideas for the young guys, trying to, because there was such a glass ceiling for us there. And not so much me. I didn't really, work as hard as I should have, to be quite honest. But a lot of the other guys that did, Disco, Chavo, Ray, just so many of my young friends that we all hung out. You're not going to break that glass ceiling when you've got Piper, Macho, Hogan, Nash, Flair, Double M, and rightfully so in some of the cases. But, it was just so hard to break that glass ceiling. And I think when they just saw that Rick maybe didn't get it, and they kind of tossed him aside. Then, Jimmy said, no, let me do this, darling. And he put myself, Rick, Alex Wright, some of the guys that they really didn't have direction for, tried to do another group of us, the young, I don't even know what the name was. And it was just a preposterous video with us, on the beach, taking our shirts off and walking or whatever. And he tried, but to his credit, he was just trying to get young guys a spot.
Yeah. Right.
They put Rick and I together, and it just, then he had some personal problems with a young lady, and, I guess he just, couldn't cope with it all. But it's a shame because he really was a great guy. And, that was a real terrible thing that happened. But
well, we saw, hell, I was in Memphis when they were trying to recreate Razor Ramon and Diesel, and we all know Glenn hung on and made it through, but the other guy that was doing Razor, I think his name was Rick as well. But I don't think he ever did anything after that. So, I mean, they were totally set up for disaster. And, I mean, even bigger props to Glenn Jacobs for making it. You know what I'm saying?
He really
came for that Isaac Yankum, too. Isaac Yankum and fake Diesel. So he really overcame two albatrosses.
And Christmas Creature in Memphis.
I was just fixing to say the Christmas Creature.
Well, guys, how about this? How about Kevin Nash? Vinny Vegas, Odds, rather.
Oh, man.
Master Blaster. Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of bad ones there too. I guess you got to give him credit there.
Kevin's got charisma out the door. Plus, he's 6'10", so he's not the Quasimodo either. He can get around.
Brother, trust me. When he was young in the day, he could go too. He was, bro. Oh,
yeah.
I knew him. We broke in together. Actually, I got married to him for like a month with the Master Blasters in 1990. Kevin's a good dude, man.
Yeah, and I know he's lost his son Tristan. That was so tragic, man. Because you think of alcoholism and unfortunately killing someone through alcoholism, and this is maybe sounds harsh, but unfortunately it's common knowledge now. But to take someone who's 26, that's man.
Oh, yeah.
It shows.
But it just must show how much poor Tristan was drinking for it to be able to affect that way. You know what I mean? I don't know, but tragic story, man. My heart goes out to him. Kevin's a good guy, and really, really, really was proud of his son, and really was proud of being a dad too. He was a good dude. He was a good man. So
and it seemed like, they had kind of gotten over some of their issues that they had that got on TMZ, and Wolfie brought up TMZ a minute ago, but they got some national headlines that wasn't the greatest. And then they seemed to really connect with this podcast, which that's one of the podcasts I listen to all the time. He and his co-host have a lot of, magic together, much like Wolfie D and myself, live in color.
I can't say names, but, one of the biggest podcasts, he does his and he hates some of the guys he does it with. Literally. So, you guys do have great chemistry and a respect for each other and a friendship. And you're right. I think Sean and Kevin have a great chemistry, and I love the podcast. I really do.
Yeah, what's funny is Wolfie lives in Kentucky, just north of Tennessee, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we knew each other. That. Yeah, so we, living in Nashville in the wrestling scene, we got to know each other, but barely. I mean, we knew each other as acquaintances. I would sit there and listen to Wolfie complain about the booking at this specific, I maybe shouldn't say that, Wolfie, but anyway, I would listen to say, Wolfie would say, and I would ask him opinions on something, and then long story short, what was it? A year and a half ago now, I call you up and I'm like, Wolfie, I got this idea. The podcast. Let's do a podcast. You really need a podcast. I love it. Here's it. And he'd already said, yeah, let's do it. And I'm still trying to sell it to him.
That's awesome. And you were just excited.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about it for months, and I'm like, man, I need to get with Wolfie D. He's the guy I had been building in my head, and it all came out at once.
What's good with getting Wolfie is because he broke in at the tender age of 15, he's been able to have so many generations follow his career.
Exactly.
You got to capture more viewers that way, I would think, than the average guy.
Well, he knows the old timers, and he's young enough to have worked with the new timers, so it's kind of a blend of that, but we do get better shows with the old timers, though. Let's just say that, so.
Well, there's more history, and you guys said it best. The era that we all lived through and that Wolfie and I were blessed enough to have been able to make a living at, it's never going to be that way again. The Harley races, the Jack Briscoes, the Dusty Rhodes, the Ric Flair, the Marty Pipe. I don't know that we'll ever see characters like that again.
No, definitely not.
Dick Slater. I mean, we could go on and on.
Yeah.
And Joe, man, it has been incredible having you on, catching up with you, man. Man, I'd love to be able to come down and see you. If you ever,
I've got a beautiful condo right on the beach. You all come on down, Reddington Beach. We'll do a damn podcast there in the sun, sitting on a goddamn paddleboard.
Let's do it.
It sounds like
let's do it. Yeah,
it's
be my guest. I had a great time and I'm flattered. Thank you.
It's like 40 degrees today and cloudy, and it's just not really fun here. But again, thanks for coming on, man. Great stories, and we'll be back in touch with you. I mean, certainly sometime in the near future. I'd love to hear some more stuff, man.
Great.
Tell all the boys I said hello.
Already did. Told the boys at lunch I'm going to go do a podcast after this, and they told me to give you their best.
Oh, that's awesome. That means a lot. Thank you.
Hey, listen, the blood that runs deep in Memphis, boys. You know that.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. Thank you, guys. This has been Wolfie D for Jimmy Street and Joe Gomez. Next up, I bet you can't guess what it is. I'll tell you, current affairs.
DJ, hit the music.
It's a current affair. It's a current affair. Love it in color. It's a current affair. Love it in color.
All right, we're back with current affairs. And once again, Wolfie D, this is the Thanksgiving week version of current affairs. We just had the amazing Joe Gomez. My God, what an amazing story that dude has. He's one of those guys like Reno that can just say, like, I've wrestled Mount Rushmore, Right. Yeah. Well, to kind of kick off current affairs, I'm going to go with the biggest one here recently is Logan Paul is currently coming off the critically acclaimed match with Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, and he shredded his knee, it sounds like. It sounds like he tore his meniscus, his MCL, and possibly his ACL.
Has that confirmed at this point? Do we know this for sure?
Well, that's what he said, yeah.
Yeah, because I just watching it, and I'll let you ask your question here, but just real quick, just watching that match, because I did watch it, I couldn't find it. I was like, where the fuck did he hurt his knee? I don't see him. I didn't see a knee thing land awkward, and not that it couldn't happen, but I was having trouble trying to find where it happened at. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
And how he did it or whatever, I don't know. But go ahead. What was your? I probably killed you there, but just go ahead, ask the question anyway.
I mean, that was the question, but the biggest thing about that was, man, I feel like the dude went all out. I mean, people critically acclaimed is kind of what I was saying there. A lot of people really were impressed by his match, and Roman seemed to give him quite a bit. He treated him as an equal. So what did you think, brother?
Yeah, I thought it was a good match. And how many matches is that for this guy now?
3.
Yeah. I mean, to be in that position on your third match, I mean, hopefully, he takes that as a great, great honor. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I'm not claiming one way or the other. I don't know. but I just hope that is his attitude. But yeah, I mean, for a third match, man, that was good. The only thing I would say would be like his fire with the people, in which will come, and then a couple of, in my opinion, timing issues, but not much.
Right. And, you know, I think you're exactly right on that. I did not notice much at all in the way of fire. And Saudi Arabia might have been the place to really get that, you know, because they're going to pop for people, you know.
Right.
They still think King Kong Bundy's alive, you know, that kind of stuff. So they're going to pop for the wrestlers. But, hey, dude, third match, I mean, you know, impressive. Obviously, he's going to get some traction there because of his followers and YouTube listeners and all that. I mean, you know, the guy is a big name. It's a no-brainer for the WWE to pair with them. But I will say this, his brother Jake, I don't know if he punches the same way in the boxing ring. Did you see that?
Yeah. If you're saying, because I didn't think they looked good, so I hope that's what you're saying.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Did not look good. Yeah.
And his punches look great. I was going to go, whoa, why you?
Which one? Yeah. Hold up. Wait a second. Yeah, no, they were horrible. And do you think it was just the knowledge of how to throw a punch and he just didn't have it, essentially? Is that...
Yeah. If somebody worked with him, they could probably teach him, I would imagine. But, or they tried to teach it to him right before he walked out, you know.
Yeah, so. We recommend The King. Probably.
And I did watch this too, and this may not be in your questions, but I just thought of it. Did you see, I believe it was the girls' match in the golf cart?
Yes, yeah.
Did I miss something there? What were they going for? Because I don't understand putting her on there and driving her down to the ring, and then if I remember correctly, they really didn't do nothing off of it. What was that?
I think it was just a gimmick, man. Bianca Belair defended her Raw Women's Championship against Bayley in a last women's standing match. During one instance of the match, Bayley was seen on top of a golf cart while Belair drove it. And yeah, I mean, it was just nothing. It just didn't happen, you know? So
I don't know what was supposed to happen, but it didn't. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Probably just a missed spot. And, you know, WWE doesn't do that a lot. But, you know, I talked to Magnum TA on another show. I compared a situation that you and I had talked with Jerry Lynn about, how the camera completely missed that backdrop that you took on the outside of the ring. And Magnum was talking about why he likes that WWE scripts everything because they don't miss those spots. Right. Which is why they script everything now. But, you know, a lot of it does have a bad effect because it comes across too scripted. But in those instances, they don't miss shots like that. And, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that golf cart deal was a missed spot, too. Who knows?
Right. Here's the thing, too, is that they've been doing that for years. And you set up in Channel 5 back before everything was scripted. You had somebody, Jerry Jarrett, Randy Hales, whoever was up there in the booth there with the TV. They're watching, you know, mainly the widescreen version of everything, and so they won't miss nothing. But then they're telling, go to camera this, go to camera that, go to camera this, go to camera that. That's called a director.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it, man. But hey, you've ruined my point.
It does make it easier because it does make it a lot easier because I did the one thing for the Flair gimmick. And yeah, I had to know a couple of different things and hey, go wide here, go, you know, be on the headset. And so it does make it easier if you know it's coming, but you know, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right on that, brother. So, well, I guess let's go ahead with our next current affair here. My next current affair is this one. It's super simple. Jeff Jarrett, he's that he's the cat of pro wrestling in that he is 9 lives in this business. And he is now the live events and international business, probably a vice president or something of that for AEW as he turned back up on TV a couple weeks ago with the chair shot to Darby Allin, or I'm sorry, the guitar shot to Darby Allin. Yeah. So anyway, he continues to be in the business and relevant. As always.
On his feet, like you said, a cat always lands on their feet too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That could be his gimmick. Jeff always land on my feet, Jarrett, or Jeff come out smelling like a rose, Jarrett. And you know, he's got a couple of different options there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean,
that's what I mean. I've said it from anytime we've ever mentioned Jeff. What do I always say? He's a businessman, dude. He's a businessman. And that's what businessmen do. They make deals.
yeah. I mean, that's just, hey, you got to give him credit, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
seriously. Yeah. And I mean, that's the one thing I will say about Jeff is I don't know him personally. I know you do, but you know, to me, that guy, he's so intelligent to keep himself always somewhere relevant. You know, that's just, hey, whether he's not in the business, he's just doing a podcast.
There's another one. Jeff, Intelligent and Relevant Jarrett.
Yeah, Jeff, Intelligent, Relevant. The cat, Jeff Jarrett. No, wait. The Intelligent, Relevant Jeff Cat Jarrett. That's trademark, Jeff. Can't use that. Yeah. Well, you know, hey, good for him. Hopefully, you know, hey, hire Wolfie D, man. That's just a no-brainer right there. But hey, we'll talk about that some of.
It would be a nice thing.
Yeah, that would be a very nice thing. Well, okay, so you know, being that this is going to be our third and final current affair here for the day. Mm-hmm. This one is related to Jeff Jarrett, but not directly, as this is Road Dogg. And Road Dogg recently got himself in a little bit of trouble. And first of all, I think his comments were very misunderstood in that he essentially said that he felt like he was a better sports entertainer than Bret Hart, because if you think about it, what he's talking about is the 90% of other stuff, not the in-ring necessarily. He's talking about the other stuff, like on the microphone, entertainment. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And I understood what he was saying. And people they just want to bitch about anything, you know that. And I mean, he's not. Bret was a great wrestler, but what he was saying was the money's in the sports entertainment. And yes, Bret made money. Bret sold gimmicks. You know what I'm saying? Yes,
right.
But
yeah,
Bret on the microphone, not no comparison to Road Dogg. I mean, and I'm seeing people, Road Dogg, he was the worst part of the man. Shut up! Everybody knows. Oh, you didn't know, and who did that? Him. That entrance alone was what people loved. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so totally. Yeah.
He was the weak link. Shut up.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And, you know, like Road Dogg explained it recently that what he meant by saying that he was a better sports entertainer than Bret. If you ask me to go out there and entertain a crowd, I would have different ways to do that other than grappling and wrestling. And he stands by his comment to this day, meaning that he knows he's not a better technical wrestler than Bret. But I mean, what would you say the percentage of the whole package is? That like a fifth of it? Maybe
it's kind of changed though with the new fans and the new wrestlers. That part of it is trying to be manipulated, or it has already. I mean, I do think you got to be able to do some more stuff now, and have the charisma too, but be able to talk and just have that X factor. But
I mean, Bret always wrestled like it was like he felt like he needed to carry on his dad's legacy of that style of super old school. And there's a place for that, man. There is. Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you right now that if you and I were to turn on a Bret Hart match, I guarantee we would be entertained by it. Right. But there were some of the other things. Bret was charismatic in his own way, and he certainly carried the company in a time. I mean, you can speak to this. I mean, there's been pro wrestlers that have allegedly said that when Lawler and Jarrett left Memphis, it went to hell. That's what allegedly, but we know that's not true. But if you were to compare, Memphis after Lawler to WWE after Hogan. So you all are there, and you all in the Rock and Roll Express literally are carrying the territory with other guys. But honestly, you know what's up. Right. And then you've got Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels carrying it after Hogan. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a comparison there too, So yeah. And we will go viral now that I compared PG-13 to Bret Hart, but let it happen.
But no, it's just and like what he was saying also, Road Dogg, he's been given a platform to give his opinion, and now people are mad at him because he gave his opinion. It's like, that's it. Hit the nail on the head. That's how it is now.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely that way now. And, I'm kind of bummed out that, people are, I'm more than bummed out that people are so sensitive about everything. They go for the companies that put this stuff out, the ones that are bad about it, it's just like with the media, with politics, things like that. They go for these headlines that 99% try to encapsulate what's in the article, but they really don't get the entire story.
It's totally off. Yeah.
In that clickbait headline,
Exactly.
It's
what they're looking.
Yeah, they want somebody to click on it, let those ads play. I mean, it's genius in some ways, but in other ways, it's like, dude, come on, read the article first. Listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
After you listen to ours, of course. But anyway, well, that's it for current affairs today, unless you have anything currently you'd like to complain about. So.
No, I complained enough and gave my 2 cents for the day. Anyway, but I hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving. From my family to yours, and I'm sure Jimmy's family to yours. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and tune in next week to Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Join me, Gene Jackson, for the Jackson Interaction Podcast, where I'll be doing one-on-one interviews with people from the world of professional wrestling, as well as stand-up comedy. You can get them anywhere podcasts are available in both video and audio form, but you can find them all at genejacksonpod.com.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at WarrenWolf13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Wolfie D. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for you, don't.
He got a cap for you, don't.
I got a cap for you, don't.
He got a cap for you, don't.
You don't.
He got a cap for you, don't.
And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still livin' in color, bum rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was N-O-D, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are, without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip-hop. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or later. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome.
We got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.